interview with Brian, Brady, and Karin of Sailing SV Delos. My first interview with Sailing SV Delos was on episode 10 of the Slowboat Sailing podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. And this episode will be on episode 33 of the Slowboat Sailing podcast. Again, I was really impressed by your last season and really impressed by your new season. And they both have very different looks to them. Maybe you could, last season you guys crossed the Indian Ocean, and we went through the stops in the last interview, but what was your longest offshore passage with that? What was the longest in terms of sea miles?
For last season, you mean? I believe it would have been Andaman Islands to Chagos Keeling. I think it was around 18. No, it must have been longer than that. 2,200 miles or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, wow, that's really
just over 2,000 miles.
16 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it must have been like 2,200 or something.
Yeah.
And that was upwind too?
It was everything because we went from the northern hemisphere and the northern part of the Indian Ocean right through the doldrums across the equator and then into the trades. So we had downwind, we had on the beam, we had squalls, we had, everything. No wind.
Okay.
It was a mix. I think we put up every sail combination we have on the boat to get through it.
Yeah, and then got some pretty bad stuff towards the end too.
Yeah.
Kind of the biggest waves we've seen up to that point was towards the end of that sail. So yeah, we saw everything on that sail.
Wow. What I noticed for this upcoming season is that it seemed like when you rounded Cape Horn, Cape Aghulas for the second time, it seemed like you're going against the current. Was that a real problem?
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, the current flows from the Mozambique Channel and then down around the Cape of Good Hope. But there's tactics. So you generally stay inside the current and there's a lot of guys that deliver boats between Cape Town and Durbin. And the advice they gave us is just stay inshore, stay inside the current, like literally really uncomfortably close to land. Because in some places you could actually catch a counter current. So if you get close enough, then you might have like half a knot or a knot with you. Offshore, 2 miles offshore, then you've got like 3 or 4 or 5 knots against you, which just kills everything. So that's what we did. We just kind of stayed real close into land inside the current, which basically follows the continental shelf. And then when the weather looked good, we zipped across it and just headed east. And that worked out pretty good. I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I don't think we had any more than 1 or 2 knots of current against us at any one point, right? I mean, it wasn't anything crazy.
And then we went across it, and we got pushed south, but then we didn't really go with it or against it, we just went across, so we didn't feel it too much.
Yeah, but when you went across it, it was probably a little more difficult.
Yeah, I mean, because the tough thing about going across it is if you get caught out there in that current and then there's a southerly or a southwesterly that comes, it can get really steep, really big standing waves, kind of similar to how you can experience it in the Gulf Stream from what I've heard, which people might be a little bit more familiar with. But, I think we did get some southerly breeze, but it was only 15 to 20 knots, so it wasn't out of the southwest, it was just out of the south, which wasn't so bad, and we did lose quite a bit of, I think we lost 12 or 13 miles south, but it wasn't as bad as we thought.
You're expecting it was going to be a lot more, right?
Yeah.
We have like 5 knots of current on the beam coming at you, and you're trying to get across. We thought we were going to go like 100 miles south or something.
Yeah, I think we were expecting it to take almost a day or a day and a half to get across, because nobody knows really how wide it is. And so in some points it's like, 40 miles wide, and some places you hear it's like 150 miles wide, but you don't really know until you go for it. And I think we found it to be like the really strong part was like 50 miles, but
Yeah.
then there was like a little bit of current after that. So in total, it was 70 or 80 miles wide,
Yeah.
and only about half of that or something was really strong. So
Yeah, I think I remember on the video you were saying you were surprised how easy it was, that you weren't pushed off too badly.
yeah, pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought we didn't.
So how fast does it run, the Aghulas current?
It can run at the fastest I think we've seen is 6 knots.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's kind of fast.
No, it's fast.
Yeah.
It's very fast, and it's big, and it moves a lot of hot water from north to south. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, so you hit some kind of bad weather, I think, in the first couple episodes. It was probably because, it's more exciting to have the storm episodes beginning on. Probably not chronologically. So did you port hop along the south coast of, are there any ports on South Africa, or not really?
No, there's a few.
4 or 5, I'd say.
Yeah, and that's exactly the tactic you take, is you sort of hop between these ports when you get a weather window, because there's absolutely no anchoring along the coast. There's like maybe very few spots, but and they're generally right outside the ports. But it's a pretty exposed coast, and so once you leave Cape Town and you get around Cape Point, you have Simon's Town, and then it's like 150 miles to Mossel Bay, or no, it's 200 and something.
220 or
220 to Mossel Bay, and then it's another 150 to East London, 180 to East London. I'm probably messing all the miles up, but it's like a day or two runs between these ports, and you just kind of go when the weather's good, and then pull in, duck in when it gets bad.
Yeah, because the weather is, it can be quite predictable in the right time of year, so you can see when you have like a good 2-day window, but after that window there's something gnarly coming up behind you when you're going that way. So like in one of the episodes you probably saw, we had to duck into into Mossel Bay because there was something coming behind us, and the window wasn't big enough for us to keep going. And that's kind of the tactic. You just duck in when there's something coming. Once it passes, you go out and go as far as you can till the next front comes through.
Okay. So I think the change from last season, you had kind of you switched crew, and I was on your website, and I noticed that you guys said you had 50 different crew since that you started the voyage. That it's pretty. You've had a lot of different crew. I just on my last season, or the last let's say 9 months, I've had 3 different unrelated crew members for different legs of the passage, and of course my wife and daughter on the crew. But you lost Yosh, who's kind of been a long-term crew member, and you also had Max and Frida. Maybe you could talk about and also Babs. Maybe you could talk about how you guys got Max and Frida on the boat. How they joined for.
So for that passage, Brian and I was on the boat in Thailand, right? And we were kind of, planning to go across the Indian Ocean, and we knew it was going to be a lot of long passages and quite rough sailing. So we were like, we want to have more people on board. And at that point, you and Josh didn't really, you weren't sure that you were going to be able to come back. Yeah. So we were kind of debating, like how many people should we have on board, like, and then I talked to my friend Frida, because she's my friend from kind of high school, and then we lived together in London, and she was like, I want to go sailing. So we kind of met met up with them really briefly over a dinner in Stockholm, and me and Brian were there. And, you know, her and Max were just super keen to come out, and they were like, we want to do something different, something new. And we would say, awesome, come and sail with us and then the plan was about 7 months or something like that.
I think it was
Or
like
10?
that was like 5 or 6.
5 or 6, yeah.
Well, we thought we were going to get to South Africa sooner than we did,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So that was kind of the plan. And then during the same time, we were talking to Babs as well, and she was kind of in this space where she really wanted to do something different traveling too. So we locked those 3 in, and then, you know, we talked to Brady and Josh, and then they were kind of like, oh, we want to come too. So then all of a sudden, we kind of were a crew of 7, which was really interesting, and you know, it was a very cool dynamic during that, you know, those 7 months when everybody was on board.
So 7 is not your ideal target for number of crew on the boat.
Yeah.
For this size boat, I mean, we really only have comfortable bunks for 6.
Yeah.
And
It can definitely work, but I don't think for 7 months. And
During those conditions, it was very hard.
It has to be very special people, and it was very special people for it to work like it did, for it to turn out like it did, you know?
Yeah.
But I think the size of boat, there's just no place to sit
Right.
or like try to use the laptop or edit videos. There's no room for anything. There's people just spread out everywhere.
So, yeah, I would say my boat probably sleeps 2 unrelated people relatively comfortably, and maybe we could fit 3 if some people share a bunk. Okay, we did have 3 for the Marquesas passage, but okay, so I wanted to ask you, Karin. I was interested in how you ended up in Australia. That I know you were going to school there, but you're from Sweden, and how did you decide that you wanted to go to college in Australia?
So that was actually Frida's fault as well. Not fault, but she. So I was applying to the landscape architecture school in Sweden as well, and it's really hard to get in Sweden. And I kind of knew that I didn't really have good enough grades for it. And I was talking to Frida, and she was like, well, why don't you apply somewhere else in the world, like Australia, because I'm going to study there, so then we can go there together. So I applied in Melbourne in Australia, and they accepted me in Australia, and I passed, and of course I didn't pass in Sweden. So I was like, okay, Australia it is then. And then 1 month before we were supposed to leave, Frida was telling me that probably won't go. So then I had the decision, like, should I go by myself or should I not and do something completely different? And I decided to just go for it and try it out. I mean, Sweden will always be there, so I just packed my things and flew to Melbourne and lived there for 3 years. And it was really very awesome.
Yeah, I think Frida really her great personality came out last season. You know, she was kind of just always smiling, always had something to say, maybe it was because she was not holding the camera and you guys were always holding the camera, but it was nice. I think she did, I guess you would say she did pretty well as a crew member, even though she had kind of no experience, both her and Max.
I think they did great. I mean,
Bubs, Max, and Frida killed it for not ever sailing before.
Think of going from no sailing experience to basically sailing. I think it was how many miles? 7,000 miles or something in a few months. In 7 months, 1,000 miles a month you're sailing.
In some rough conditions too, in the Indian Ocean. Yeah, for them to do it and learn how to sail and adapt and learn how to live on a boat. Yeah, I think they did a great job.
And then this season you've got Carmen, Dylan, and Kirill, and they were the winners of become a Delos pirate crew competition. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, they were some of the winners because we were only going to pick one winner, but then we got all these cool videos, and we spent a lot of time watching through every one and narrowing it down, and then when we got to the end, there's no way we can just pick one. And so like the first leg leaving South Africa, we had an entire crew from South Africa, so that was Carmen, Kirill, and Dylan. And then, they sailed with us until we got to Mauritius. And then, Camilla joined us there.
Yeah.
And then in Madagascar, Greg and Cheyenne joined. They were
Two more winners.
And then in Madagascar also, the two German brothers, Uli and Jens, joined us.
All right.
Which was also 2 winners. So.
Yeah. And they were our Patreon supporter winners because we did a special. We wanted to make sure at least one of our patrons was drawn. And then in about 2 weeks, actually, we have Lisa coming from Austria, and she'll be joining us for the sail to Namibia.
Okay.
So we're actually not even done yet.
All right. Okay.
Working on it.
So you, instead of having people over for kind of the whole season, which is kind of, I would say that's a function of where you're sailing. Obviously, crossing the Indian Ocean, there's not a lot of places easy to get off. But you're going to have kind of more people instead of just a core group. But I guess that also is probably a function of the fact that, you had a relationship with Max and Frida. So.
Yeah, and I also think people, a lot of people can't just take 7 months off.
Oh yeah,
their
definitely.
lives, everything, to find somebody that will come for maybe 1 month or something like that. It's okay. People can take that time off work or something, but to find somebody that will stay for that long is quite difficult.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree. I do I have the unrelated crew come aboard, and it's hard to find that match of people that can take off any length of time, even 2 weeks, right? But a month, really, you want at least, and then they can care enough to buy their plane ticket over, So. And then you also are looking for someone that is going to be a good fit, right? It's going to be a good crew member, and that's going to cut out a lot of people that can come, too. So.
Yeah.
So what do you guys look for in your crew members? What were you looking for this last time, and how would you change it next time?
For me, I was looking for just a lust and passion for adventure. Sailing experience was totally optional, just the right vibe. We did the video competition, so that sort of implied that you would be an outgoing person if you're going to film yourself and put together a little video. So that was automatically a bar for something, I guess, in my mind. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think it's funny because when we watched the videos, all 3 of us watched the videos separately and kind of were like, okay, these are the people who stood out to me, or these are the people that, and we had a lot of the same people. And I don't know if there's that one thing you're looking for. I think you just watch somebody and you can get quite a good idea of who they are and what they're going to be like, even from 60 seconds of video. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's just somebody they just look like they'd be fun and they'd be cool and easygoing, and we weren't necessarily looking for sailing skills or if they'd sailed before. That was the bottom of our list. We didn't care about that at all. It's more about just really meeting an interesting person that could fit into the vibe really well.
And also for me, it was finding people that might not otherwise have the chance to experience this. So
definitely.
If there was somebody that I felt like, wow, there's very little chance, knowing what I know about this person, that they will be able to sail over a good part of the ocean, and to be able to share that with somebody, I think is very, very cool and very special.
Yeah, I had a crew member that had never sailed before, do the 3,500 mile passage to the Marquesas, and he did excellent. He you're right. He had those features that you were talking about, that sense of adventure. You know, he's a rock climber, camped out a lot. So I'm always looking for somebody that is good with hardship. They come onto my boat.
Yeah, and I think like setting expectations up front too. You know, this is not a luxury cruise. This is not a charter. You know, you're going to cook, you're going to clean, you're going to do night watch.
You're gonna film.
You're going to do everything that the three of us do.
Yeah.
We'll help you, we'll show you, but you know, there's no slacking. You're gonna scrub the bottom, you know. So.
And the people that were like, "Fuck yeah, we're in," then that says a lot about it.
Yeah.
Even if they've never been on a boat before and they're enthusiastic about doing that, just that says a lot about a person.
Let's see. So, you know, one thing that struck me about Chagos when you guys visited was it was so remote that it was just really, there was nothing out there. You guys were kind of coming in with really low supplies. It kind of made me want to not go to Chagos. But I, you know, I tend to gravitate towards more populated places. I tend to like, you know, I know everybody wants to go out for the remote anchor, or a lot of people want to go out for the remote anchorages. I tend to, you know, want to go where the cities are close by the anchorages. What was your favorite part of last season? What was your favorite stop, and what are you looking forward to next season?
You go, Karin.
I mean, my favorite from last season, I mean, I think, it's very hard to pick one, but I think Cocos Keeling and Madagascar. I mean, Madagascar was special in a lot of ways because we met so many people, good people there, like good locals, and the food was amazing, and just everything that we were kind of missing, I guess, during the passage over, all of a sudden it was just there, you know, the food and the drinks and the parties and the, you know, amazing culture and all of that. But then, you know, thinking back, like Cocos Keeling was amazing as well in the way that, you know, like that is very remote as well, but it's a little bit more populated than Chagos. So, you know, we met some people and we had, you know, amazing barbecues and beach and just everything there. So I don't know. It's a hard pick between those two for me.
Which one would you be looking forward to for this one, this next season?
What?
Well, I said your favorite from last season, and then this next season.
I don't know.
Questions.
Yeah, I guess.
So hard to pick.
I really enjoy the remote places personally. So I like setting up the boat to go for months or longer at a time, and then just being there for a long time. So, yeah, Cocos is cool, Chagos is very special, but in Madagascar, you could actually get both of that, because you could find not really a city, but like a village, and you could get food, you could get some internet, you could hang out with other people, and then you could sail 2 or 3 hours away and have this amazing anchorage completely to yourself, because there's actually not that many people. Yeah. There's a lot of deserted islands and a lot of deserted beaches, so you can kind of get the best of both worlds. And what we did a lot this past season is, you know, we'd go in and we'd stock up in the city, we'd come party with some friends, hang out, and then we'd leave for a week, and then we'd just go diving somewhere, or, you know, chill at an island. And it's really cool to be able to do that. And I think for me, I'm really looking forward to the Caribbean, because I don't know that much about it, but it seems like there's a lot of cool islands and a lot of cool cultures close together. And from what I've heard, there's more people in boats, but I've also heard that you can find some places that are a little bit less or more off the beaten path, or less off the beaten path.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see. But it's like a whole region to explore, so I'm stoked for that.
The thing that struck me about the last 2 seasons, maybe versus kind of the earlier seasons, is that you were kind of tropical, warm weather sailors, and you felt, at least at the end of the Indian Ocean season and then the start of this season, it seems like you're more adventure sailors, right? You're all of the above, right? But are you kind of more gravitating towards adventure sailing, or are you more interested in going to those warm anchorages?
I don't know. Yes.
I think you have to have both. I think you can get sick of being in the tropics all the time at the equator, and it's hot all the time. And I don't know. I think you need to mix it up. And when you start sailing south, like we did the trip, like the videos that are coming out now on our way to Reunion Island, we'd never done anything like that before. Like in the 40s, right? It was cold.
It was so cold.
But it was so beautiful in its own way. It was just as beautiful as anything at the equator would have been. And yeah, I think we love both, and I think you have to have both to appreciate the other.
Yeah, absolutely. But this year, this year's going to be a very different season. Yeah. It's going to be a very cruisy, crossing the Atlantic on the southern side is, by all accounts, we've heard, a very chill sail. People are like lounging. It's like a big spinnaker run. You're downwind. You're headed towards the equator, and then it's warm and it is nice sailing.
Total opposite from our last.
So it'll be a cruisy year for us, I think.
Which I'm kind of
Okay.
looking forward to.
The year coming up that you're getting ready to cross the Atlantic to Brazil, is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was looking at the charts. It did seem like you've got favorable currents if you go up the Namib coast and then you cross there at the equator. So it all seems favorable. Seems similar to the favorable currents you have going to the Marquesas. But so there's no temptation for you to cross to Brazil and then head south around Cape Horn or anything.
Oh, what were you saying last night, Brady?
Oh man, I think we brought this up in the past 3 weeks. We brought it up about 10 times as a joke, but that's how it always starts. That's how going to Madagascar again started. Yeah, we keep joking we're going to get to Brazil and look north and be like, I don't know if we want to go up there yet. And then turn south to Argentina, and then if you're in Argentina, then you might as well just round Cape Horn, right?
Patagonia.
Yeah, and then you're in Patagonia and then Easter Island, and then back in the South Pacific.
Right. Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of popular YouTube channels that have done the Indian Ocean, right? But there's kind of a lot of people that have, not as big as you guys or some other people, but have gone up and down the Caribbean, right? And does that weigh in your decision making any, or not really?
No, I don't think so. Not at all. I think it'd be cool to run into some of the other sailing channels and hang out and see how they do things and just chill. They're all like-minded people, so I think we'd probably get along pretty well.
Like you said about the Caribbean, a lot of people say, oh, it's going to be busy and there's a lot of boats, but all of those boats are similar to you in a way. They're just going out sailing, so you have something in common with so many people in the same area that we're alone a lot of the time because we're in these remote places. So to be around other cruisers and to have that party atmosphere and meeting people and doing things as a big group of friends is appealing for sure.
And the distances are small too, so once we get to the south end of the Caribbean, it's just over 1,000 miles straight line distance to Florida or something.
Yeah, I think
maybe
so.
A little bit more, but it's not that big runs. You can do that in a week.
Yeah, 7 days. It's crazy.
Yeah. So is there a big cruising community here in Cape Town?
There's South African sailors, and most South African sailors are either racers or they're getting ready to leave on their own cruise, because there's actually not a lot of cruising in South Africa because of the lack of anchorages and the gnarly weather. And then the other sailors that you have are the circumnavigators that are coming through at the end of the cyclone season in the southern Indian Ocean.
So they are all leaving now, right?
So everybody right now is leaving now. Like all of the boats that we've been hanging out with here in the marina and stuff, they're all leaving within, some left a couple days ago, some are leaving this week, everybody's sort of leaving, but
as far as the community, I'd say there's maybe 10, 15 boats or something.
in Cape Town?
I mean, that have kind of passed through this area, or maybe a bit more than that, but
I think there's more, we just don't know them all.
yeah. But it's not very big, no.
I heard that there's something like 110 or 120 boats that cross the Indian Ocean every year, give or take.
Okay.
I don't know how true that is. That's just what I heard, but I think that makes sense considering the size of the Indian Ocean Facebook group and all that.
Yeah.
And then there's of course the ones that you don't know about that just do it, and you know.
Yeah, you never see them, never hear from them.
Right.
They're out there. Just,
When was the last time you were in a big cruising destination where there was a big anchorage of a lot of other cruisers?
probably Thailand,
Yeah,
like Phuket.
years ago.
Yeah.
And you guys love Thailand.
Yeah, Thailand's good fun. I'm a big fan of Pad Thai and
Tom
Tom
guy.
Guy and anything Thai food and massage related.
Delicious food and cheap massages. It's a great place.
Good beer. I mean, it's cool. You can't go wrong.
So was it worth visiting the Andamans for the food?
I don't know, the food, the whole experience.
The whole
I mean, the experience was, the food was amazing though. The butter chickens were great.
Yeah. But I would say more there it's not many cruises that go there.
No.
And there's not many boats or people that live anywhere outside the city. So we were just cruising around by ourselves a lot. And that was and it's no fishing allowed. So that
No
was quite
commercial fishing.
Yeah, no commercial fishing. So it was a big difference from coming from like the rest of Asia, where it's just fishing boats everywhere. And now all of a sudden it's just us.
And Coast Guard.
Yeah.
And the Coast
Coast Guard everywhere.
So you have your crew members, you put them to work, you give them a camera, do you have them do a lot of editing? I guess you mentioned you had Kirill editing some stuff.
Yeah, Kirill's been working on some of the episodes that he was on board for, and editing's tough because it takes so long. You know, and if somebody's only on board for like a month, you don't want them to spend their whole time editing,
Learning the program,
right? Yeah,
so
yeah.
Just to learn it, and then so. Yeah, but if people pick up the camera, just like some basic guidelines, like, pick it up, aim it at what you want to shoot, push the button, try not to move it around very much, don't shoot into the sun.
Right.
That's fun. If you think you should be filming it, then you probably should.
Yeah.
And don't worry, it's all digital. We can always erase it or not put it in if it sucks. So.
Yeah.
So what was your scariest part on the boat so far, in terms of like, you were afraid that you guys are going to sink or something like that?
It's probably different for all I don't know.
I don't know. Just recently we hit a reef in Madagascar. Just the past season, it was marked as 20 meters on the charts, and it was off, and we were cruising, as we normally do, going probably 5 or 6 knots.
Motoring, yeah.
And just smashed it, and the whole boat just boom, and then we were off of it again. I think it was just one bombie that came up, and then we were back in 20 meters of water. It was terribly scary.
I was downstairs and everything just flew around. I was making smoothies.
What shit was that?
Yeah.
That's really scary.
But it didn't do any damage. It scratched
Just the
paint a
starboard
little
side of
bit.
the keel,
It took a little chunk out of the glass, and fix that next time we pull out.
Yeah.
That's always scary.
Well, I've never hit the ground or a rock or a reef. Never happened.
Knock on wood.
I'm just kidding. That's a joke.
Yeah, there's two types of sailors: those that have, and those that either will or lie about it, right?
What about you, Brady? What was your scariest moment on the boat?
I don't think think I ever thought the boat was going to sink, but I think my scariest was when we were coming into Madagascar from Chagos last year, and we had about 20 hours or so of just super strong wind and big swell, and it was the middle of the night, and it was kind of the worst weather we'd seen up to that point. And yeah, I mean, just Brian and I being exhausted, just switching off 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off overnight, that was definitely scary. I mean, my heart was pumping the whole night, just massive waves crashing over the boat. You couldn't see them coming, but you could hear them coming. And at any point, I'm just thinking there's a rogue wave that's triple the size of all the other ones that's going to roll us or something. That's probably the scariest for me. Although the conditions that we saw on our way to Reunion were similar, if not worse. But I think because we'd been through it before, and we were set up for it, and the boat was okay for it, it wasn't as scary. So it was that first initial time being in conditions like that were scary for me personally.
Oh, definitely. I thought about the same thing.
Yeah.
Because for me, it was like, I was laying in the back and I know that was like, it's no problem. Like, she's good, but it's at the same time, like, the sounds and the feeling and just the sound of the wind.
Just the
is
energy.
Like,
there's energy in the air,
it's so intense that my whole body was just tense the whole night, like just laying on the floor in the back, just like, curled up, like trying to.
Yeah.
I think it's scary, and I mean the whole cockpit like filled up with water, right? And the cushions were like floating around. I had to close the door. I mean, it was really hectic.
You have to close the door. Never close the door.
Yeah.
So do you guys have a rule like you're supposed to close the companionway hatch, or not really?
In a situation like that, you don't want water coming into the boat,
Yeah.
into the main cabin. So, but that was the first time we've ever had to, unless we get strong wind from behind and there's rain coming in. But as far as waves and water coming inside the boat, that was the first time we've had to do it.
Yeah.
I noticed you guys had some autopilot problems. That's always a concern of offshore sailing. I had a lot of, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but I burned out 2 wheel pilots in December. And maybe you could tell me what autopilots you have and what usually breaks on them.
Yeah, so ours is the Red Marine linear drive Type 2, I believe.
So it's the hydraulic ram. I was looking into that.
It's actually electric.
It's electric.
Electric one, and I think it's rated for. I can't remember. I'll have to look at the numbers, but it's a good. It's enough size for Delos. It handles well, and it can handle heavy sea conditions. I think the problem with ours is we've put just about 50,000 miles on Delos since leaving Seattle, since I've been on board. And the previous owners also took her from France all the way, through the Med, across the Atlantic, through the South Pacific to New Zealand for a couple seasons, and then back up to Seattle. So, she's probably got, she's got 16 or 17 years of hard ocean sailing on her, and the planetary gears just wore out. And when I replaced him in Cape Town, I made the mistake of replacing the outer ring that I saw worn out, but what I should have also replaced is the matching gears that sit inside that ring, which is what actually caused the ring around it to wear out.
Oh.
So I only replaced one of the pieces, silly enough.
So it's plastic,
and and it was the other piece that was actually causing the problem. So then it lasted another, 5 months, or not even that long, I guess. But since then, I've replaced both pieces now, and we seem to be working pretty good. They're all replaceable parts. I mean, if I had that autopilot, I carry a spare of each of those now. So.
Okay, so you have the spares for that part that wore out, but maybe not the whole autopilot.
Yeah, and if next time I'm able to get spares, I already have a spare belt and I now have the spare planetary gears, but I'd get the gear that fits on top of the planetary gears as well. So one spare of each, and then I think you're good to go for a long time.
And then a redundant autopilot.
And we also have a backup autopilot that we can switch on. It's similar to a wheel pilot.
It's chain driven.
Yeah.
But that one doesn't really work in like the conditions we saw sailing to Reunion. You know, that autopilot is way too small for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it was a factor of the conditions being too bad for the autopilot. I just think it's just old and has had a lot of use, and I didn't properly repair it.
Okay, so you would say that the wheel type pilot you have is probably not good for over 30 knots.
Yeah, or big seas.
Yeah.
Or big swells throwing you around, and when you want to round up or something, it
Right.
just can't handle it.
Whereas the one on the quadrant in the back can handle
Pretty much anything.
pretty much, yeah.
Okay, cool. Still deciding what I'm gonna do. The other thing, on one of your early episodes in this second Indian Ocean season from 2016, you had a lot of water coming into the boat. Is that a kind of... Have you had a lot of salt water coming into the boat over your 50,000 miles? And
That was the first. That was a first. And that was the leaky bow thruster seal, which actually just required...
It wasn't even the seal.
It wasn't even the seal. It was the adjustment, because it's a retractable thruster, and it just required a little bit of tightening. So once I tightened it a bit, then it seated the seals properly, and it's been fine for
The whole rest of it.
we did 11,000 miles last season, so 8,000 something. Yeah, so it's been fine. And then the second part was actually freshwater. We've had way more freshwater problems in the boat than we have the saltwater. Like, occasionally
They're mysterious too.
a hose will break somewhere, or a hose clamp will go. There's one mystery leak that only seems to happen on one particular tack and really big winds.
And like every 8 months or something.
And
It's
so
real weird.
we haven't been able to track that down. I went through and I replaced every hose clamp in the boat. So anytime I found a hose clamp, I took it off, inspected it, and then threw most of them away because they had some flaw or another, and then replaced it with a new one. So we've been pretty good since I did that.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of work, man.
yeah, I lose so much water, fresh water, and so many freshwater leaks. We'll bore you with them. But it's good when it tastes like fresh water.
Yeah,
The pump goes burnt. Everybody's like, oh.
I know nobody's using any water.
Searching through the bilges to try to find it.
Yeah. You've got... how many crew are you planning for your Atlantic crossing? How many crew are you planning on taking on?
Anywhere between 2 and 4. We're not sure yet.
Okay, so it's still up in the air. You've not finalized your crew yet.
No, but we'll definitely at least one person, just because I like to sleep a lot.
Yeah, 1, 2, most likely 2.
Yeah.
Okay. And you plan to stop in St. Helena? Any place else?
Ascension, maybe?
Maybe.
Maybe we'll definitely spend some time in Namibia, because it sounds very cool. Not so much the sailing and cruising, but just any time there's like 100-meter sand dunes that come right down to the ocean, and there's all these kind of cool deserty things.
Droneland.
Yeah, so we'll probably spend some time there, and then St. Helena, maybe Ascension. It really depends on where in Brazil we make our first landfall. If we go down south somewhere by Rio, then we probably won't go to Ascension, but if we go up north by Salvador or Recife or something, then probably.
Yeah, it's on the way.
And then we'll just follow the coast up. There's Guyana, French Guyana, Suriname, Venezuela, Trinidad, Tobago. Yeah. Then you're
in the Caribbean.
But we're gonna go slow. So we're gonna, instead of, because all the cruisers that are leaving now, they're leaving with the intent of getting somewhere by the hurricane season, which is June or July?
Yeah.
Something like that. But we're going to do the opposite. We're going to go so slow that we entirely miss that and then arrive in November or October, December, towards the end.
Okay, that makes sense.
So we'll have months or something.
So I think that's interesting. I've never heard of anybody stopping in Namibia.
Quite a few people
Most
do
of the
it.
cruisers this
They
year.
do?
I don't know if you followed Totem at all.
No.
But they were there for a few weeks.
Aware of
They did
them.
On it.
Okay. So there's some ports in Namibia or some anchorages.
There's basically two.
Two main ports, yeah.
There's Luderitz and Walvis Bay. And
I don't even think you want to anchor there, though.
I don't think you're allowed because it's all diamond mining.
Okay.
So there's a lot of places where you're not allowed to go ashore because they literally have these huge vacuum cleaners that they're sucking diamonds out of the ocean floor out of.
Okay.
And they have armed security and helicopters and all sorts of weird stuff.
So that makes it only one port?
I think
two.
Luderitz.
Okay.
Definitely
At
get
Walvis
two.
Bay.
All right.
Yeah.
And one of them you have to go to the marina or get a mooring or something like that?
Yeah, I think both of them is mooring something.
Okay.
Something we should look into.
Yeah. I'm sure you'll figure it out. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I saw one of those survival shows in Namibia and I didn't think anybody would visit there. As you said, the sand dunes, the desert, the remote coast, and there's quite a few reefs too, right?
Yeah, I think
really
it's not well charted. It's called the Skeleton Coast.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be pretty interesting. We've heard that the food dishes are abnormally large there. I don't know why,
Okay.
but everybody that tells us when you get to Namibia and you order food, it's going to come out and you're not even going to be able to finish it. Steaks and schnitzel and
chicken schnitzel this big. That's what I keep hearing about too.
yeah, and it's German influence. So it was a German colony, and that's why the town is named like Luderitz, and all the architecture is very German, and it just sounds like an interesting place.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird. Just desert for miles and miles and miles and miles.
And then a little German village town in Africa.
Sounds perfect for us.
Okay, and so I would definitely classify you guys as full-time cruisers, but you took a long time off the boat the last couple seasons. Is that right?
Not necessarily off the boat.
I mean, we took 6 weeks to go home and visit family.
Okay, so that's not a huge amount of time.
That was the last time we've been off since
Years.
a long time.
It had been 2 years since we'd been home before
2014 or something.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're not sailing here in Cape Town, but we're living on board. We have nowhere else to live, so boat projects and editing videos.
Okay. All those things will take a lot of time.
They're both full-time jobs in themselves.
Right, yeah. So you guys visited Sweden and you visited the U.S. this break. Did you visit? So you had not visited the U.S. the previous or in several years prior to this year?
Not since we were in Borneo. Yeah, so it was two.
That's when Yosh and I met you there, right? We were both there at the same time, yeah.
2014 was it?
Yeah.
And then you guys visit Sweden or have visited Sweden several years this time?
That was also, we visit also, usually both at the same time. When we're at it, we do both.
Yeah, because leaving the boats is kind of a big deal. You have to find a safe place. You have to
Yeah.
Yeah, it costs
Heck,
money
right.
to be in a marina. We have to, pickle the water maker and clean all the food out so that when we come back, everything's not dirty. So it doesn't really make sense for us to leave for a short period. We go at least for 6 weeks or something.
Yeah.
So you guys this time you didn't split it. You and Brian and Brady traveled together to the U.S. Is that right? And Karin, you also did.
Yeah, and then Brian went to Sweden for Christmas and stuff, and Brady stayed in the U.S.
Okay, so you didn't have like maybe Brady on the boat holding down the fort or anything like that. Yeah.
We had a friend of ours kind of looking after in Durbin that would come by once a week or something and just look inside and have a look around.
Yeah.
But there was nobody living.
How often did you haul out the boat?
About every 2 to 3 years on average. Just because, I guess you can do it more often, but I really dislike painting the
It's
bottom.
always a lot of work because it's not just one thing you have to do when you haul the boat out. There's always a lot to do.
So we're gonna try and push it one more year if we can do it. We'll see.
Trinidad or Tobago or something.
It just means we have to scrape the bottom more. But
It looks good now. You guys have the diving gear to do it, I guess.
yeah.
So
I don't mind that. I mean, it's nice to get underwater and breathe.
I bet the water's pretty cold in the marina where you're at.
Oh, it's now it's 10 degrees, I think.
Yeah,
it
we
was
were diving a couple weeks ago and it was 9 degrees.
Oof,
Super cold.
Celsius. So what is that?
Yeah,
48.
Yeah.
50 degrees Fahrenheit or something. Yeah, it's cold.
But you don't do that when you're in marina, or do you? Sometimes you do.
No, I hate diving in the marina because all the bits are pooping in the water and
Right,
all sorts of weirdness floating around. So
Electricity, yeah.
yeah, it's just sketchy. So
Yeah, cool. And what's your favorite part about Cape Town? What do you like to do in Cape Town?
oof.
We're just.
What do we not like to do?
I would say Cape Town is for me the best summer city I have ever spent a full summer in. This city is completely just explodes during the summer, and it's just so much going on. I mean, the last couple of weeks we've been to festivals, we've been to wine festivals where you for $10 can drink as much wine as you want from every wine yard.
The best wines in the world too.
Yeah, South Africa is known for wine, good wine.
And it's cheap and it's good food, and it has with a 10-minute drive you can go hiking and I don't know.
That's what I love. Just the other night, with some friends in the marina here, they're like, hey, do you want to go up Lion's Head? And I said, sure. So it's, from the middle of the city where we are, it's, like Karin said, a 10-minute drive.
10 or 12
and then
minutes.
you're in Table Mountain National Park, and it's, a beautiful walk up to the top in nature, and it's clean, and there's cool trails, and you can go for hours. Yeah, watch the sunset, hike down, and there's wonderful food here. Just about anything you could ever want, and it's
like a Cape Town tourism commercial.
No, it is. I love it. And it's inexpensive as well. I mean, it's it's very, very reasonably priced.
Good food, good people, good music.
Yeah.
Good weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're kind of lucky right now. The dollar is pretty strong. Everybody was warning me how expensive the Marquesas would be, but it seems fairly reasonable. So if the Marquesas is reasonable,
Yeah, I remember buying an $18 6-pack or something when we were there.
A cheeseburger was $22. I was like, oh.
Right.
No way.
So, is there any good public transit in Cape Town, or not really?
If you count Uber.
Uber, okay. So you're not gonna probably take the bus, or there's no subway or anything like that.
If you're adventurous, you can take the African mini buses, but you're piling in there with like 30 people, and
they're super cheap.
They're super cheap, but there's no set schedule. There's no set route. You just kind of have to know the neighborhood, and then you jump in it, and then you go somewhere. And I did that in Durbin. It's cool, but I mean, it's like a local commuter scene. It's not for tourists trying to get around or anything.
What's your favorite city in South Africa? Is it Cape Town or place you've stopped or visited? Yeah,
for sure.
Is Durbin a lot different than Cape Town?
Yeah, Durbin is more warm weather stuff. So there's warm weather surfing, there's diving. To get to the mountains, you have to drive a lot further away. It's like a 2-hour drive for 3 hours. And it's also a little bit rougher too. Like there's certain, when you walk out of the marina in Durbin, they tell you like, okay, so you can walk right, but don't walk straight and don't walk left, because it's just a dodgier area of town where people have been known to, if you walk out with your camera or something, you definitely don't want to go those ways. And you don't want to walk around with your mobile phone or your cell phone out, because then you're automatically a target. So you just kind of like eyes up, walk fast, look like you know where you're going, and don't pull out a map.
Or look like a dirty sailor. And
the worst you dress, no watches, dirty, hair messed up, unshaven.
Pretty much us.
Don't carry anything with you, and nobody bothers you.
So do you worry about security a lot in places, or not so much?
Not really. I mean, never.
We stay away from places that you would need to worry about that, I guess. Like, you talk to locals and you know about through other people that have been there, and if it's a really dodgy place, you just don't go.
And then also, like, if we leave the boat, we always lock her up. Like, Delos is very good with that, like we can actually lock the hatches from the inside, and we can really like lock all the kind of, everything, like the back locker and all the lockers outside on the deck and stuff can also be locked from the inside. So.
And then we put away anything that might be tempting, like the dive bottles go in the aft locker. Like we leave no electronics out. We take the screen, the navigation stuff inside, and
just be precautious.
Yeah.
So you've been in how many countries so far since you left Seattle?
Oh,
I don't know.
30 something, maybe.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
No idea.
I could count them.
That's okay. You don't have to count them. So, is there if you didn't have like family and immigration and all that stuff, what was your favorite place?
We always come back to.
It's like a top 4 list you're gonna get.
Okay, that's cool.
From me, you're gonna get Philippines. You're gonna get Madagascar, and South Africa is moving right up there on that list because of Cape Town here. So.
The only thing I'd add to that is New Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand as well, and yeah.
Yeah, I would say the same. Philippines, Madagascar, and I mean the time that we've spent here has been very, very nice and super necessary. So.
Well, you could have just spent one season, so you spent 2. So that probably says something, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So what upgrades have you made to the boat this year? I think I commented on one of your videos, and you mentioned you just got the heat sensor so you could sense the current.
Yep. Yeah. So probably the biggest upgrades we made are we put our B&G system was on its last legs, and a bird flew away with the anemometer. So we had the wind speed, direction, and then I looked into getting a new one, and from B&G it was like 1,000. It was like 1,000 euros or something like that. And so I looked at the price of putting another 1,000 euros into an old system versus a new system, and it just totally made sense to replace it. So we went with the Meritron system, which is super cool. NMEA 2000 network. Has very cool sensors like the barometric pressure, humidity, temperature, all this stuff. Oh, thanks, bro. And then we get the sea temp, and all the gauges are digital and graph stuff over time, so we're pretty stoked about that. And then I put in new solar panels, so we replaced the solar panels with three 330 watt ones, so we upgraded our capacity there. And then new wind generator, the Silent Winds, which we're super happy with.
So we got a little pause here. There we go.
Where did you lose us at?
You're talking about the wind generator.
Okay, so yeah, the Silent Wind has been awesome. And then Brady started talking about
dive gear. We got sorted out with new dive gear, which has been huge because our stuff has just been taking a beating over the past 7 years. And then before that it was like Boy Scouts gear, so it was already in rough shape. And then we drove who knows how many dives on it again, so upgrades. I mean, camera gear, of course. We're always trying to reinvest in new cameras and learning new ways to use the cameras and stuff. So
the Dodger.
The Dodger.
Yeah, the Dodger.
There's a lot of videos coming up on these.
Okay, awesome.
Karin designed a new Dodger and had some guys here, a sailmaker, make it.
Yeah,
We
that
got
was awesome.
a new washing machine.
Ice maker, new computers.
Yeah, I noticed that you guys have a washing machine. I was impressed by that.
No.
I was impressed by the water, and you guys, I guess you have a generator.
Yeah.
Yep.
How big is your generator?
7 kilowatts.
Okay, that's a lot. Yeah. Okay.
It's pretty fuel efficient. Doesn't really use that much fuel, and we don't really have to run it that often because of the solar and stuff. It's just mainly for picking water and doing laundry and
running the computers if it's not sunny.
running the still.
Yeah, we were doing the bucket water this passage, which actually worked pretty well. I mean, the drying is probably the hardest part. Is the finding the weather for the drying, I would guess. And you don't have a dryer, right?
I think like normal clothes and stuff is completely fine. It's just the sheets, all the bed sheets. When you have like 7 people on board.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And washing bed sheets is like a nightmare.
Yeah. Make the individual sailors do that for their own sheets. Let's see. One of the things, you guys got out the beers. It's 5 o'clock somewhere where you are. It's 5 o'clock in Cape Town. Here in Louisiana, it's 9 a.m. Cheers. It was Mardi Gras yesterday, but it's not. It's Ash Wednesday today. So, so what advice would you have for anybody, doing offshore trips or wanting to sail to different countries? What advice would you give them?
Do it.
The first step of getting out and doing it is, I think, the hardest part, right? I mean,
it's realizing that you probably know more than you think you do, and a lot of it is just common sense.
And a great attitude,
having the right, like not rushing. I think if you take your time, you're more likely to be safe, rather than trying to get somewhere on a schedule and perhaps going when the weather is not optimal or you shouldn't. So patience and
knowing the plan won't always go the way you think it will.
Knowing that
being okay with that ahead of time.
Your plan should literally be written in sand at low tide.
Yeah.
And knowing that it's just gonna throw it out the window, probably.
All right.
That's advice.
Yeah. Be prepared for change. It'd be okay.
People have always just reading. I've been like the last couple of weeks when I haven't been editing. Just looking up stuff about Brazil and like reading blogs and stuff like that. When it's most likely somebody have done it before you, right?
Yeah.
and the internet is amazing, and people really like to share stuff. So you can find a lot of information, and it's a lot of good website. I mean, Noonside has like almost anything that you would want to know about the place to be safe and stuff is there, and it's, you know, it's all kind of put together in a very easy, friendly way. So I would say it's,
Use your
you know,
resources.
yeah, just read about stuff, and you know, it'll be good.
And I just watched the still video, and
Cool.
I was impressed with the. I thought that was really interesting. That was a pretty awesome video. How you make the liquor. That's not your first one. I think you've had other ones where you've maybe not gone into as much depth about your alcohol stills. You had a really small one, and then you had a really big one. Do you actually have the really big one? You keep that on the boat?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It lives in Brady's
My closet.
Okay. So there was one that was like a coffee pot. What was that?
Yeah.
The air still, and then what was the other one?
The Turbo 500.
So when did you start brewing your own alcohol?
2012, 13, and it was in Australia. It was when we were about to leave Australia, and we were going to go provisioning, and we weren't going to get a crazy amount of alcohol, but even if we wanted to buy 10 bottles, they were like 60 Aussie dollars a piece, so it would have been like $600 for a little bit of vodka that would last you, you know, a couple months or something.
Five people on a boat, 10 bottles doesn't last a long time.
When you're having sundowners every couple of days or big party binge.
We're thinking about provisioning for like 3 months or something, and 10 bottles is not going to cut it.
No. So that was and in Australia it's actually legal to distill your own alcohol, and there's little homebrew shops around. And we just happened to stumble into them, and it was definitely the right investment for us. And it's worked out great over the years. And then Still Spirits, the company that these two stills are from, just a really cool company that does a lot of really good innovative stuff for home brewing and home distillation. So they have a whole range of easy at-home distillation equipment and products for RVs or boats, and it's really set up perfectly.
Well, I think one of the persons I was interviewing, and he came on my boat for like a kind of short cruise that I don't think I really talked about in any of my books or vlogs. He said he did an offshore passage with a guy who sent you guys a still. So does the air still, the guy, does he have a boat? I forget his name. I should have wrote it down.
Was he a Kiwi?
No? Okay, so maybe it wasn't. It was something really different.
I think he's into sailing, but I don't think he sails much anymore. He's quite an older guy that just kind of works.
Okay.
I don't think he's...
Cool. All right. Is there anything I missed that I should have asked you, but I didn't ask you?
No, I
don't think so, man. covered a lot of ground there.
Yeah.
Well, it was really awesome to talk to you guys again, and I'm glad we got to hear a bit more from Brady and Karin, and it was nice speaking to you, and good luck with your trips, and I'm sure we'll all be watching.
Thanks, man.
Well, we'll see you out there.
Yeah, we'll see you.
Maybe one day we'll cross paths in person, and
Yeah, it seems like we're going in the opposite directions right now, so I'm not going to catch you anytime soon.
All right. Well, have a great day, and
cheers from South Africa, man.
yeah, cheers.
All right. Cheers.
Give us a like and hit the subscribe button.